Alright guys, let's go again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Dashy not happy about the number of cheaters he sees in Black Ops 7 right now, but also Shotzzy with a few thoughts on the state of play during the Call of Duty League and the watch parties, and what's happening with some of these former pro players having their perspective on matches, not just in an opinion sense, but also in a monetary perspective as well. Kenny responds to the whole shenanigans. Very much into your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Wanted to just start it. So this weekend's Challenges is back on the way. We've got a Challengers Cup around the corner. We've also got the Elite happening midweek as well. Most of the talk is normally about the North American side of things, but this weekend Trey is looking to come back. So I think the roster is set to be Jerd now lives in Australia, so he's not going to be playing, but effectively they're going to run back. That is the plan anyway, with Trey, with Bance and with Mad Cat to run back effectively the Splice roster and play the Challengers Cup. Now, interestingly, of course, the Challengers Cup will not feature any of the elite teams because they're playing in the elite, so they don't have to play against the absolute grinders. I mean, you know, the grinders, but the top teams in challenges, they will hopefully look to make it the distance, but we'll see. They might be running some scrims over the next couple of days. Excited to see this back in action. Really, challenges has been popping off, and it's cool to see some old pros back in the mix, especially pros that were so entertaining. This team from 2017, pretty legendary among others from the same era. JCap also gave his thoughts on a couple of things. I'll share this clip for you guys in a second. Talking about Shotzzy and Simp. You know what? I'll share it now, then we'll talk about it.
Shotzzy, but like the best player in the CDL era, I'd probably still like say Simp, if that makes sense. Like, I think if we look at like the CDL as a whole, like how they have been individual, I think Simp's been more consistent while probably having like equal peaks. But when like GOAT to me means more accomplishments, and I mean Shotzy's got 3 rings in the CDL. Simp only has 1 in the CDL. The other one's Black Ops 4. But like, you know, I think, like I said, I think Simp's has been more consistent. So Shotzy's Crim, Simp is Scum for this era. I mean, that adds up perfectly because I think Crim is the GOAT and Scump's the best player of all time. So I think that adds up perfectly to what I'm saying.
I think Jacob's right that when you look at the situation as a whole over the Call of Duty League, these are the 2 players that really have to spring to mind, that have been here for the entire cycle and have won an awful lot during that cycle, and have also been individually some of the most dominant forces. It's an interesting kind of dichotomy that Jacob brings up between maybe the best player and the greatest player, but I think he's probably on the money here to a certain extent. That on the balance of things, Simp has probably been the best, but Shotzzy in this time period, 1 in 2020, 1 in 2024, 1 in 2025, and while Simp came close and has won multiple events, of course, over that time span, champs in 2021, made another, you know, finals here and there, but it's not been enough to replicate that success. So, you know, does it equate to Crim6 and Scump? I'm not sure it does exactly, but I always think it's an interesting question to try and compare and contrast different eras, right? Like we were trying to talk about it on the show, on the Dope Trick show yesterday, about what it would take for Shotzzy and Dashy as a duo to like surpass Scump and Formal, let's say, as a duo, and it's just really difficult to come up with a good answer to that question because very different eras. Scump and Formal won tons of events together, but if Shotzzy and Dashy were to go back to back to back at champs as a duo, then it would be kind of tough to look past them. But I don't know, different eras are always going to be different. It doesn't matter what sport you look across, it's the same difficult discussion that you try to have. Interestingly enough, Shotzzy is 15 in 24 all time against Simp. It was actually Modern Warfare 3 where that was the worst year, right? When FaZe had their number, apart from when it mattered at the end of the season. Modern Warfare 2 was a different story. OpTic dominated FaZe on that game. Similar story in Vanguard as well. Cold War was the other way. So pretty remarkable that most of these years are very one-sided, right? Now, Cobra, of course, was Dallas, so it wasn't OpTic Texas just yet, but he was on Dallas Empire at the time, and yeah, they just couldn't beat FaZe that year. They were at times the second best team, but they just couldn't beat FaZe. They were 0-6 that year. The only year that was kind of interestingly competitive really was MW19. It was 3-5 that year. Crucially, Shotzzy got the upper hand in the World Championship final that season. But in Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2, it was all about Shotzzy in this battle. In Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6, it was really all about Simp. Although, again, it's kind of crazy that if you look at these years, like, what years did you think Shotzzy wins champs here, right? Like, you know, he wins on years where Simp has his number, at least by the numbers, but when push comes to shove at the biggest event of the season, either FaZe aren't good enough and they lose to OpTic, or they're simply not there. So that's what's happened the last couple of years. This year so far it's 0-1 again, so yeah, pretty remarkable record. A couple of other clips I wanted to share as well. Certainly Dashy has been getting a lot of credit in recent days. I think understandably as well. He's got his KD back to just above a 1 for the season, which is, look, with Mercules on your team, that's going to get the job done if you're playing with pace and you're being very consistent on the map, which I think Dashy has been. Yeah, he's had some weaker series, you know, even in the 0.8s, in the 0.9s. But he's very rarely having like an absolute stinker, right? And I think that's what's strong about Dashy right now, is that his level is very consistent and predictable. Every series, you know pretty much what you're going to get from him. He's going to sit in the time, he's going to shoot straight, he's going to get the job done, and he's going to let the other boys do what they like to a certain extent. And he's not going to have huge variation in his numbers for positive or for negative, but that's not necessarily a bad thing with the way that he's developed as a player over the last couple of years. He also wasn't very happy about the number of cheaters that he sees in the game right now. There's been lots of complaints about this in ranked. Again, it is frustrating given that when the season started, or certainly when the game first came out, it was like, okay, Ricochet is fixed. Like, it's back. COD is back. The cheaters are gone. Nothing to worry about, boys. We've found all the problems. But, like, has anything really changed in that sense? I don't know. It's still a big talking point always. Certainly at the top level of ranked, people are running into cheaters all the time. It's obviously frustrating. It still seems the best strategy for the developers is to like sit in the streams of the pros, and then if there's an obvious cheater on the other team, just press the button and ban them immediately. That seems an more effective strategy than actually running this anti-cheat program, which doesn't really seem to work. But let's talk about this clip here from Shotzzy, because I thought this is pretty interesting. Shotzzy's perspective on this compared to what I've not really seen people talk about this too much lately, certainly not from a player perspective. And look, it doesn't take that much for Shotzzy to get mind blown, but he's definitely mind blown about this.
Dude, I feel like half of these kids are like aimbotting, dude.
Brandon, everybody.
But I don't know what type though. Like, is it all the same? Like, are they all just hiding it in different ways? Like, it's the same hack? I don't know, bro. I want to know, like, just want some closure.
That's the part that sucks the most.
We need the closure, you know what I mean?
They'll never fucking know.
We'll never know. And then there's like the 5% that are stream watching. Like, oh, like I'm fucked this search. You know what I mean?
Whoa,
Like,
whoa, way higher than 5%.
5%. I don't know why I said 5. It's like 50%.
It's 75%, 3 out of 4 on their team.
It might be 98, even if they're not even trying to. They just want to know if it's me really in the game. Like, is this really him?
He's running it up, bro. Wait, yo, I'm actually curious. Wait, yo, because I heard Ken in the background. Wait, yo, can he, since he's not in the league anymore, can he bet? Chat? Or how does that work?
Hit him a cut.
He could? What? What? That's insane.
Hardpoint contested. We control the hardpoint.
Yo, wait, yo, do you find that crazy?
What?
Like, you know, Ken's not like not playing it, or well, he's just not in the league anymore. Like apparently he's like he could bet. Yo, that's actually insane.
Wait, who are you talking about?
Ken.
Kenny?
Yeah.
Apparently he can what?
He's spamming. You know? I'm saying like apparently he's allowed to bet like on Price Picks.
Who, Kenny?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? He's not an active player.
That's insane.
So as Zinni says, this isn't remarkably unusual precisely, but I guess what Shotzzy's getting at is he feels that former players will have, and you know, they will to a certain extent, more information than the general betting population, as it were, right? And look, in football or in just regular sports, certainly in the UK, There are, of course, plenty of rules and limitations that players often get caught out for because they're stupid, I don't know, for betting on matches. You know, you just can't do it, right? Because you might have information pertaining to that. So, of course, as a player, you can't put any money on matches, certainly not your own matches, and then, you know, other matches as well in the league. That will be strictly prohibited. Now, what's interesting is for friends and family, right? So friends and family are not allowed to place bets if, and again, this is all grey area stuff, they have some sort of additional information that the other, you know, the rest of the population wouldn't have. So often this gets caught up. Players, they may have told their wife or their girlfriend or their friend or whatever about something that, you know, maybe put a little bit of money on this, and then all of a sudden they get exposed in court and whatever. Now, they're free to do that if they've not had conversations with the player, but most players will, of course, tell, you know, their friends and family, like, probably not, especially in a serious sport, don't put any money on this game. It's only gonna effectively come back to bite. Even if there's no wrongdoing, it can only be a bad outcome potentially. But in the COD League, we're a bit ghetto here, right, in the esports world, so it's a little bit different. And if people are deciding to put a bit of money on the games, then that's okay. But what is interesting is when it comes to players and people associated with the team. Like as Zinni says, Zinni is allowed to do so. He's not a player. He's affiliated with OpTic, but not technically affiliated with OpTic Texas. So I'm not 100% sure the way that the rules are written, because, for example, in regular sports, it would be like if I worked for Manchester United, probably in any capacity, it would make more sense to avoid that type of discussion. But maybe in esports it's a little different, because it's not like Zinni is the coach of OpTic, right? Obviously that wouldn't be allowed, because they're going to have more information. You know, they scrim all these other teams all day. So, like, obviously they're going to know more than we do what teams are looking good, things that, you know, the bookmakers won't know when they're coming up with their lines and this type of stuff. So obviously that's prohibited. But equally, you know, Zinni, maybe it's fine because really he's just a content creator for the org. But obviously he's friends with these guys, so he talks to them on a regular basis. If he wanted to get information, he could. But if he is making picks based on that information, then it's illegal. So this, you know, Kenny's thoughts, as Kenny says in the reply, is, damn, he's making the spot hot, right? He's like, look, stop bringing attention, buddy. Like, we're just trying to have a good time over here. It's no big deal. I guess Shotzzy's take is that Kenny was in the league not long ago, right? He knows more about these teams than otherwise, right? And like Don will know more about, because Bush is scrimming these guys, right? So it is interesting. I think it's a conversation that we've not massively had, and is one that maybe does need to be looked at to a certain extent. It's always a very difficult discussion to have, and, well, at least for the league to deal with. Like, do they really care? Like, unless there's some sort of big scandal, I don't think the league want to really care or bring too much attention to stuff like this. As I say, in COD, we're just not that serious of a sport for this to be like a massive drama, I don't imagine. But I think Shotzzy, to a certain extent, has a fair point. He's like, well, you know, we got people who definitely know more than the general public for various reasons are putting picks on some of these games, and apparently that's perfectly fine. So, yes, intrigued to your thoughts on all that stuff in the comment section below regardless. Just thought it was interesting that Shotzzy was the one to bring this up, and Kenny says, hey, like, come on, like, calm it down. We don't want to be talking about this right now. That's fine by me. So intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Just one final thing I thought was funny, really, because we know that Falcons are, I think, the best paid team in the league. They've got to be. Celium's on about $800,000 a year, but he's still playing this little $750 tournament on CMG. So, well, anyway, Falcons are getting the practice in, trying to find a way to win some search and destroys, which will be valuable for them. But hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.